What a gorgeous, gorgeous day. I actually woke up really cold, like with such a chill. And I had to put a sweatsuit on immediately. I think we're about to have a pretty chilly week. It's supposed to rain all of this next week, which is honestly so rude. Why is that on the forecast? So excuse me while I just bask in this sweet, succulent little morning and take in the plants. The plants and the fresh air. Speaking of the plants and fresh air and breathing in this sweet succulentness, I've had an epiphany. Because I have been waking up so swollen and puffy. I have, like, my allergies have been through the roof, and I was like, okay, I understand that people can develop allergies as they get older and they can kind of develop and become something different. And over the years, my allergies to Meryl have gotten progressively worse. But no, this has been on a whole other level. And I did have an epiphany recently where I had switched Meryl's litter. Okay, you're gonna laugh at me because you're gonna be like, hello, you're the person who sneezes when I spray a fragrance. Meryl's litter was just smelling so bad. I don't know what it is, if it's because she's been taking more of her medication or what. But like, her litter was getting really foul, and I'm like, I need something to cover this. Like, I can't, it's so foul. And we keep her litter box in the laundry room because it's kind of just like out of the living spaces, and we have a window here that we can open and just let it be like a through route. Anyway, I bought this and it's actually killing me. The smell, it's a nose tickle. I walk downstairs and it's like, I don't know, it didn't stay there. I don't know why I thought that the litter scent would stay in there. No, it's filled the entire home. It's all we frickin' smell. It's so and then obviously I had this realization, and the litter that we normally get and have been using for years was just temporarily out of stock, so it's being shipped June 3rd. So I'm really hoping that later this week this situation is gonna leave me, because this has not been ideal. Anyway, good morning. Hello. Today I wanted to do a little Q&A because, as I mentioned in the last vlog, this is a video I had planned on filming during Landmas. I don't know if you guys actually noticed Landmas, for anyone who was there and watching Landmas this last year. We were short one video. I do think we only uploaded 23 videos because I had fully filmed, planned a Q&A, and I don't remember what happened, but I didn't for some reason. So I had all those questions still there and chilling and ready to go, and then I just thought I would go on the gram and do the good old little question box, and we can just have a little chat and check in and life updates and hang out. So yes, Meryl. Anytime over the years that I've done like Q&A videos, people are always like, why did you get a cat? If you were allergic. And I too would like to understand why my body has defied me in such a manner. I had pets always growing up. It was never an issue. It's just something that got worse as I got older. Meryl is also a very particular kitty. She's, as the vets have said, she's a very dandery kitty, very much extra dander vibes going on. And yeah, it's just gotten worse over the years. So yeah, it's super not ideal. For those of you who are asking if I would ever get another pet, would we get another cat? Would we get a dog? I honestly think that this is it for me. I've actually really been spoiled with Meryl in my life because she is a very uncurious kitty, and she always has been. She was always very timid. I adopted her as an adult kitty, and it was very clear that she went through some strong trauma and abuse. We were always just trying to be very gentle with her and like not make sudden movements because she was just like so timid and scared of any movements or sounds or anything, and it was very sad. She's obviously gotten like so much more comfortable over the years and so much happier. So I don't know if it's because of that or because she's just chill and loves a lot of sleep, but she's never like ruined anything or attacked anything. Pets that we've had growing up, and like some of my friends and family's cats now, like some of them they're menaces. They just like, nothing can be on a surface. They go and push them off and attack it. And oh my god, my mom, their little cat Lucy, she just like loves to climb on anything and put her claws into anything. It was like day one of having that cat. The cat was on the curtains and like ripping them. And so I just feel like I've been way too spoiled with Meryl and her being such a good, sweet, respectful lady of our space that I don't know what I would do if another animal like tried to destroy my home. I'd be so unwell. So she has both spoiled me deeply with her love and sweet temperament, and I'm up to here with my allergies. You know, like I can't live this way again. For sure, that'll be it. Maybe someday I'll live in a farm and we'll have some chickens, and that will be, there's a fly. As for the Meryl update, obviously we know we've been grieving the news for the last long while. It's been a year or so that we received her diagnoses of ongoing kidney failure, and now she has heart failure. And we don't need to talk about that more deeply because it's very sad. It's the reality of having pets. I don't know why they aren't here for as long as we are, and it's so rude, and that's that. On that delightful note, let's make a coffee. I'm gonna let that sit for a minute because I simply can't have it curdle again, okay? I don't know, maybe I turned the temperature up on my machine or something or whatever, but I'm just gonna let it sit for a minute and I'm gonna mix my little creatine water. And just for sweet Dan's editing time, I'm not gonna do the pop-ups, but I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who sent the questions over. I screenshotted a few on Instagram this morning and I'm just gonna go through them and we'll have a nice little chat as I get ready this morning. Is that really dark? Jen's not available asked about my Aura ring, even though it pisses me off. She said, should I get one? I've been tempted. And then Lover of the Divine asked, when you first started taking creatine, what differences did you notice in your health? Okay. So first on the creatine, I'm just gonna do my little scoop. Creatine is one of those things where, oh, I forgot I took the scoop out. You always hear the same talk around creatine where it's like, it's one of the most studied supplements. There's so much more research coming out about it now, especially when it comes to women, because most of the like fitness and health related studies have all been done on men, which is the sad reality. And I'm glad that that's changing. And there's like fabulous people in the world like Dr. Stacey Sims, who's like making a point to make some women at the forefront of some of these studies. So we see her and appreciate her. I started the program November 2022. So that was when I started taking creatine. And it's one of those things where you just kind of have to hope and trust in the science and the studies that are presented to you and take that with a grain of salt, because there isn't like this magical before and after. I think that's definitely a misconception where it's like someone will take a scoop of creatine for the first time and they'll be like, okay, I'm ready for the magic to happen. Like let my muscles pop in. And there's also, it actually, there's such a misconception around women, and there's so many women who I know, friends and family, and I know that it's a thing that women think that if they take creatine, they're gonna gain weight or they're gonna get bloated. And obviously, like, there's a few cases and obviously like health concerns where people are not able to take creatine, and there can be individual cases like that, absolutely. But for me, creatine, I get really excited about the mental impact and the discussion in mental clarity and Alzheimer's prevention. As far as like a physical difference, creatine affects the intramuscle and the ATP, the energy storage in your muscles. And so when you're taking creatine, you'll notice that your muscles look fuller. If you are strength training and the goal is to have like visible muscles and you want to grow muscles, and muscle tissue impacts so much of your health and it's a good thing. If those muscles are looking swole, it's like when you do a workout and you have a little arm pump, you're like, yeah, it's filling that muscle tissue, you know? So it makes you look more ripped, alternative from the idea that it makes you look bloated. So think of it as like energy and fuel for your muscles. And apparently with all these fabulous new studies coming out, it's good for your brain too. So that's why I take creatine. Consistently, every single day, I take a 5-gram scoop, and I will take more when I'm traveling or underslept, which is certainly very often, but yeah. Protein coffee time. As for the Aura ring, I think any kind of wearables are a love-hate relationship, because when it comes to the Aura ring, the Apple Watch, the Whoop strap, Fitbit, any kind of wearable tracker that you're wearing on your body, it kind of can do one of two things for me. And I know that this is the case for a lot of people as well, where I really love the data on one hand, and on the other hand, sometimes the data can be too much. You know, I've been wearing my Apple Watch for years, and I've now had the Aura ring. Yeah, I've been wearing my Apple Watch for years, and the Aura ring I got in the summer of 2023. So however long that's been, that's how long I've had the Aura ring, and it was so expensive. I'm not just gonna discard it, and I still do like it, but I've definitely set some different rules and parameters with myself on how I kind of intake that information and the data, because sometimes it can feel a little bit too much, where again, we might be like over optimizing and over analyzing the data that we see about ourselves. I still wear my Apple Watch because I actually really like the cellular connection part of that. I think it's more accurate for tracking my steps, and I also can't wear my Aura ring when I'm working out because it pinches the living shit out of my hands when I'm trying to hold weights. Like, I take all of my rings off, all of my jewelry off when I'm working out or weight training because of barbells and dumbbells and whatnot, so I can't wear that. So I do like to track my workouts. It's a good monitor. I think if you are really into health and fitness and you are tracking things, people love to say you can't fix what you can't, is it fix or change? Oh my gosh, now I've forgotten it. Is it you can't fix what you don't measure, or you can't change what you don't measure, or something like that, where sometimes it's just nice. It's nice to see progress. It's nice to see, like, I love to track my VO2 max. I love to see my heart rate, and I love to see like improvements in my cardio, and that kind of stuff makes me really excited, which is why I still obviously wear my Apple Watch when I'm working out. And then the Aura, I really like for sleep, I really like seeing my sleep monitored. However, I do want to get the updated version because this is now so old and there's certain things that I just don't think it's very accurate with. Like I'll be laying there scrolling on my phone and it'll still say I'm asleep and I'm like, well, maybe my heart rate's just so low, but I'm very much awake. Thank you so much. And I also really like it for my cycle tracking. I do, even though it's also been incorrect in predicting that stress levels can kind of be crazy, I like seeing it. I like seeing the cycle. I do really appreciate the kind of temperature and sickness warning because there have been many times where it's like minor symptoms, you're gonna get sick. Major symptoms, like take care today. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Maybe I shall rest today. Those are nice. Not everyone's gonna love the data. I personally love the data. But my little rule of thumb now is if I wake up and I feel really good, regardless of the amount of sleep that I had, maybe I slept for 5 hours, but I wake up like feeling very bright and good, I won't look at the aura. I won't look at it because if it tells me, hey, you had a terrible sleep, then subconsciously I kind of just like, oh no, I had a little sleep and now that's something I'm gonna focus on. And I do the same thing when I'm traveling. I know I'm gonna be jet lagged. I know that my sleep is low. I just won't look at it because I don't need it to tell me. I already know. So there's just certain situations where I'm like, no, I'm having a good day. I don't need data to tell me otherwise. That's it. Or, okay, I know that I'm gonna have a rough day today. I don't need the data to further pummel me down into that hole. So it's just like a user beware and you have to kind of use them in the way that it benefits your life and it's not causing too much stress and guilt in your life. That being said, they just literally like yesterday or the day before, they just sent out the email of the new version of the Aura. I have like 2 generations old of the Aura where it's thinner. So I'm so excited. I will absolutely be getting the new one. And I don't even know if I'm going to keep wearing it on this finger. I'm so used to it now. You're technically supposed to wear it on your pointer finger. So maybe my data would be more accurate if I wore it on the finger that I'm supposed to. Victoria asks why no other program in 2026. To be honest, that was actually based on the feedback from the 2 programs that we did last year, where it felt like when we did the program in the fall, it was just like a generally very busy time for everybody. And overall, it felt like people were having a harder time kind of doing that big transition and like kind of being successful and sticking to it. Not to say like, of course, there were so many people who still like crushed it and loved it. But I think generally coming out of the winter and going into spring just seems to be a better time. It's like something to look forward to and something to kind of get you set up for summer. Like it just made a little bit more sense. And then we also wanted to do a longer one. So we did the 12-week challenge instead of the 8 weeks. And to be honest, that was enough for me. I'm tired. I was a sleepy gal. I don't think I'd have it in me to do another one this year. So that's why at the start we're like, okay, we're going to make this one longer. It's going to be the one and only program that we're doing in 2026. And we'll see how it goes. People seem to have responded really positively to having a longer challenge. So it's like something we can take and kind of decide how we want to move forward for future ones. But yeah, for the rest of 2026, we're chilling. There shan't be another. We were chatting with Dawn and the DIY Body fam about seeing if we could do some kind of like retreat or something or some trip, because I think that's what both of us would love to do and it would be so fun, and like the in-person connecting is so nice, but it's the logistics of it all that scares me. The logistics and the responsibility. I'm like, God forbid anything went wrong. I just don't know if I could simply handle that in my soul. Ivani or Ivanis asks, why don't you put the gym in the basement? I need answers, please. It's killing me. I've definitely answered this before, but the ceiling's too low. The ceiling's too low. We wouldn't be able to fit our squat rack in there. We wouldn't be able to put our pull-up bar there, though we have yet to do it. We have our little like boxes that we want to do like plyometrics and jumping with, and yeah, we just wouldn't be able to do that in the basement. Our ceilings are very, very low down there. Yes, Meryl, isn't that right? I just need to show you guys the state of our living room. Like when I tell you that this millisecond Everyday May is done, we're just doing a true like 2-day clean of the home and getting our life back together, because it's just so... Sorry to say that the caretaking has been at an all-time low, truly. I wanted to go through like a few of the home questions. There were a lot of people asking about the backyard because I had just posted my cutie little ad with Lululemon and we did it in our backyard, which was just looking particularly lush on that gorgeous, gorgeous day. And people were like, oh my gosh, did we miss a chapter? Like, did you finish the backyard, or is this your backyard? And obviously, like, I kind of forget how much time has passed. And like, if you wanted to find content on our backyard, yeah, you'd have to go pretty far back on YouTube, like a few years now. I don't think we actually ever ended up filming like a proper after, because we were kind of waiting, like we wanted the plants to mature and like have its full look. And then this year, like Awa has died. She's like not growing. I'm like, no. But we should definitely, like this summer, we'll definitely post like a proper before and after, now that all the plants and like the hedges have all filled in, which is so exciting. But yeah, no, we absolutely hired someone. We hired Alex Suvayak. He's an incredible landscape architect. Dan totally found him on Instagram and he was amazing, and he absolutely did the design of this. And then Kelby from Solstice Landscapes did the work, okay? And he's also been amazing. And yeah, it was like a huge undertaking. We definitely put a lot of moolah and love, and there was a lot of work done on the backyard to do that, but we really wanted it to feel like we weren't living in a subdivision. We wanted it to feel like a little escape. So it feels very special, and we're very grateful and very lucky to have that. So yeah, absolutely. I personally did no part in the design of this. Obviously, we like set our preferences and we wanted things that could kind of like take care of itself. We didn't want to have too much maintenance, which was always the goal. And then we wanted it to be true to the plants and trees in our local environment. And yeah, we just love it. It's truly like, it is our little happy bubble, and we love it so much. And it's just like when the spring comes and the plants start coming back, I'm like, I just want to sit out. I just want to sit out there and stare at it with my coffee. I want to do nothing else. It's crazy. And then following from that, Kicking K said, your home is beautiful. Thank you so much. She said, do you feel like you're building your forever home? And I think I've answered this before, and I'm actually curious to go back and see what I've said previously, because what's crazy is July this year will be 5 years that we've been living in this home. And I think in our minds, we envisioned this being like a 3 to 5 year living situation. It's certainly not our dream home, and it's especially like not where we want to be living. And it was a decision we made during COVID, like during lockdown. We were just kind of feeling a little bit desperate to move back home, and where our family, like we grew up downtown Vancouver, and it's obviously so expensive. It's one of the most expensive cities to live in the world. And financially, to buy a place in downtown Vancouver, like what we ended up paying for our home would have gotten us maybe like a one bedroom plus den, or just like a smaller space, or like not a space that I just like, we couldn't afford to live closer. Basically, it's crazy. The housing market is crazy. And also, even if we wanted to move right now, even if we did find like our dream area, like it's the worst time to try and sell a home right now. Like it's certainly not a seller's market. And obviously there's elements where sometimes we'll sit here and we'll be like, no, like for sure, the size of our house, and like if we ever wanted to have kids, like we know that we could have a really beautiful life here, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I do believe in kind of dreaming bigger, and I definitely have a different idea of where I want to be living. I'm like so not joking when I say that like I want to live in an old castle. Obviously, like something like that would have to take us outside of Canada, but I just don't know what the future holds. I think life is long, and I try not to think about it too much, where sometimes if I do spiral and I'm like, no, I need to be in this dream home, or this is exactly where I need to live, or blah, blah, like I try to be a little bit more open in my mind of the options. Like, to be honest, we don't know where life is going to take us. We have no idea what's going to happen, where we'll be. Tomorrow is not guaranteed, you know, all that good stuff. So I think we have big dreams, but for now, obviously, like what we do and the content that we create is based filming in our space. So we just try and make it as wonderful and magical as it possibly can be, so that we're so happy while we're here. And obviously, like our home is basically our set. It's our studio. Like it's where we film and create all our content, and the like pride and joy that I feel knowing that we can like shoot a Lululemon campaign in our backyard, and it makes me so happy that we can use our space. And like certain things that we've done in our house, I'm so, it makes me want to cry. Like I come down and I look at this sweet sculpted fireplace. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like you know, we're so grateful to have the space that we have, and we're very proud of it, and we wish that people would come over more. We did move further away from our friends and family, so we wish that we could like share it with more people, but we're very happy here for the meantime. But like location wise, it's just not where we want to be for long term. So that's a tough little thing to try and figure out. The reality is, if we wanted to move closer to our friends and family, we'd have to like significantly downsize, or if we wanted to move anywhere else, like the world is our oyster. I'm like, it's a weird thing. It's something we talk about all the time. And then Jamie asked, do you have any hesitation about living outside the city, looking and struggling? And I'd say, like, I totally agree with you. And that is my personal biggest struggle, is just being outside of the city. I think depending on where you live just is completely determined by what your lifestyle is. When we talk about where we want to live, Dan and I acknowledge all the time that we just felt like, again, this decision to move into this house was made during lockdown. It was made during a time where we like wanted to be closer to our family, and we were just trying to do that in a swift manner. And also during that time, like everyone was just kind of craving more space. We were space was at the forefront of our mind. After, we were in Toronto and lockdown was almost like 2 full years. It was just like a totally different time. And I don't think we would have made this decision had we been living the life that we're living now. And so for our lifestyle, the amount of travel that we do, really loving like the health and wellness side, like I think at this time in my life right now, I would love nothing more than to be in downtown Vancouver. Like this is like to be able to walk on the seawall and have the walkability of the city and have the access and like so many different gyms. And like that's the lifestyle that we live, and that's what we spend all of our time doing. So to like be living far away, living where we need to commute to see our friends and family, we spend half of our time in a car. It's so not ideal. We don't live near any of our friends and family, and that's been actually really hard on us, just mentally, I guess, where it's like, oh, you just want to go for coffee with your girlfriends. It's like, oh, it's just like it's not an ideal situation. It's not the lifestyle that we would choose for us in this moment. So yeah, living outside the city is tough, but obviously like there's pros and cons to everything. We have a beautiful space. We work from home, so having that has been so valuable in so many different ways, but you just kind of miss other things when you have that. So I don't know what the perfect scenario is, but yeah, I think the most important thing is to look at your lifestyle, look at what you like to do, and decide based on that. Me and Dan both grew up in downtown Vancouver. We were little city slickers and we loved it so much, and I used to just scoot around. Although I will say it is a very different time now. I don't know. Oh my God. I don't know if I'd want to raise kids living downtown. Like it's tough. You have to look at where your life is going, what your preferences are, what your lifestyle is. And yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to both for sure. But if you're, a watcher of HGTV, it's location. Just made some succulent avocado toast for breakfast. I'm just scrolling through the replies and I'm reminded of why I don't often do these Q&As. It's because I'm a sensitive little creature. And it'll just be silly ones. Like someone said, what other home dates are happening? It seems in constant disarray, no judgment. Have we not acknowledged this? Thank you, but I do live in a constant state of disarray. That is true. Can you reduce the number of edit breaks in your vlogs? Makes you feel very fake. Heart, subscribers since 2019. No, I'm not fake. I am as I am, truly. But yes, I do struggle to string a sentence together. And that is because the internet, over the last, 13 years of my presence on it, has caused me to develop severe anxieties, truly. This is a fact and something that you just deal with mentally when your life is subjecting yourself to likes, dislikes, and other people's opinions. And as an internal, deep people pleaser at heart, I really, really find it hard to form my sentences. I'm constantly thinking of how it will be responded to, how people will react. See, I'm gonna cry. Oh my God, no. See, there's certain times where I shouldn't, if I am feeling a little bit more fragile or more tired, I can't speak on this because it just sends my brain into a spiral. But because I've been on the internet for such a long time, like I have seen and read every possible thing that I could have about myself. I have edited myself deeply to a point where sometimes when I'm trying to get my words across, I feel a little bit like I'm choking. There's a little bit of stage fright there for sure. Oh, I'm also about to get my period, by the way. This is really funny. I guess the general thing is I'm always trying to create a happy place. My intent truly to my core is to never hurt somebody, and things will always be, you just can't control how people will respond to things that you say. I know inside that what people are commenting are the reflection of how their life is and where they are at, and they are meeting me and only able to give me what they're going through. And so when people comment things and perhaps it is offensive to me, where I'll read something and I'm like, well, that was super mean, I can't handle that right now. I know that that's more a reflection on them than of me, and I just happened to be there that day, I guess, open on the internet to receive said things. And also the black and white lines of the internet are so real. Cancel culture is so real. real. It's very, very sensitive. And there's a lot of lack of empathy online, especially when it comes to content creators. I think that content creators especially are held to a very, very much higher standard for a multitude of reasons. But I think it's also just like the closeness, right? The anonymity and the power that people feel, the keyboard warriors kind of vibe. Like that's a very interesting thing to witness, I guess. And I guess my biggest struggle with that is it's forever like a one-sided discussion. Like I'm sitting here filming this and I don't know how it's going to be received until after it goes live. So I have no option to kind of, you know, have a conversation. Like if I post something and someone's like, oh, this was terrible and I can't believe you did this and this and this. I'm like, whoa, I super did not mean for it to have come across that way. Like there's no conversation. There's no middle ground. It's usually just like I've seen this piece of content and I either feel this way or this way. And that's just how it is. It's like those knee-jerk reactions to things online. Like there's very infrequently any kind of bigger picture or any kind of context. There's no consideration of intent. And that obviously doesn't apply to everybody. Like sometimes you see something and you're like, you are a piece of like that is horrible. How could you have put that online? And sometimes like people speak to me that way and I'm like, oh my God, I am fully aware that there are people in the world who hate me, hate my content, hate my point of view on the world and love to tell me so. And I can't control that. Like I am very much aware that as I'm sitting here speaking to this camera, that there are people who are looking to see what I have to say to add fuel to their fire. And I know that. And I think that's part of why it's like, again, the people pleaser where I'm like, oh, I know that this is happening, but it still doesn't make it any easier to deal with for my mental state, you know? So even when I create a little video and I'm so happy with the vlog and I'm like, oh, this is so cute. Someone will be like, oh, I can't believe you did this. And I'm like, what now? You just can't control how people will react. And I know that to be true, but it's still, it gets easier, but it also doesn't get easier. Like it is always present. It is always there. So just as far as like me editing and me struggling to form a sentence, like 100% girl. Should I be in therapy? Probably. But we're all just out here doing our best and trying to deal with whatever life may throw at us. At the end of the day, it's also, this is the other thing. Like it's never, world's smallest violin because I'm so lucky and I'm so grateful for the life that I've had. And there's far too much good that has come out of like this beautiful community that we have online. So at the same time, I really, really try to sit here and just spin myself out and get back to a positive place. I really try to look at it as like, okay, I know this isn't about me, or even if it's about me, like there's nothing I can do. It's out of my control. I just have to like believe in myself, believe in my beliefs and believe in the people around me and look for the positive because in any scenario, you can choose to look at something in two different ways. You can choose to spiral and be on the negative side, or you can choose to really try and like acknowledge something that is happening, let it be understanding, understand why it's happening, and then continue on to the next. So some days are easier than others. There's definitely a lot of days where I just like shed tears and wallow in that a little bit. And then most of the time, I think that I am generally a more positive person and I am able to see the bright side of life. And I think that really comes from my mom. My mom is like the most positive person ever. Like she rarely stews and sad, and she'll just be like, okay, this has happened. All right, how are we moving on from this? And she's just such a happy person. It's very inspiring. And I always do my best to channel that, even though I love to be a little mopey gal. But yeah, I think that the internet as a whole just needs more happiness, needs more empathy, needs more, I don't know what the solution is to that, but I always think back to when we were in elementary school. I think it was grade 7. What were we then? Like 13 years old, 12 or 13 years old. And I remember it was the first time, it was like when MSN, it was like MSN, MySpace, and Nexopia. It was like, we still had dial-up internet, we still had internet cafes, and it was kind of the start of that time. And that was, at least it was the start for me. That was my first experience. And I remember like cyberbullying was such a hot topic. I remember there was one girl who just bullied me endlessly and would just send me horrible messages, and she was my bully, and I used to go and sit in the counselor's office at school when I was in grade 7, and it'd just be, this one gal in particular just had me a little bit scared to like, go in the lunchroom. Like I didn't feel safe, and it was always like cyberbullying, and we need to educate on this, and it's not okay to say these things, and if you have a problem with someone, you need to say it to them in person or deal with it in a respectful manner. And that was always the conversation. It's like, that's just just left the building these days. Like the mental health of young kids is so, it's so real. People are just far too confident in the things that they say. And there's no repercussion. Like people can just log in, have no profile picture, have no name, have no identification associated to a username, and they can just go and say whatever they want with absolutely no care in the world for how that's affecting another person. And it's so wild. It's completely unfiltered. It is like the wild, wild west. And that's something that I really have a hard time with. And that's why I choose a lot of the time to not engage with people. Like if someone comes in with such vitriol and anger in a comment, I'm like, I just simply know that no answer I give you is going to satisfy you. I know that you're not coming from a place of like true concern or true kindness or true curiosity. Like if someone's like coming in hot, I'm like, oh, there's nothing I could say to like mediate this right now. I guess essentially there has to be a strong sense of self. I do have a strong sense of self, and I know that my intention is always for pure entertainment, to make a joyful space on the internet. I'm never trying to harm thy neighbor, and I know that to be true, so I really have to like sit in that and remind myself of that all the time. So that was a really long-winded way of saying, LOL, the internet can be a crazy place. I gotta start getting ready. I've got my yoga course today. It's gonna be a long one. I mentioned a little update on my yoga teacher training course in the last video, but I think after this weekend, I'll be at like, I think I looked at it, it was like 88 hours or something out of the 200 hour. And it's so crazy because I feel like I did so much more than that, but I'm not even halfway, which is so crazy. But again, that's just the doing it at your own pace and only doing it on weekends. Realistically, it's probably gonna take me till the end of the year to finish, just depending on when they offer certain courses. But yeah, I am loving it, and I so look forward to continuing to learn about it. And I just love the way that they've done this. It's not like a traditional yoga teacher training course. It's kind of done in partnership with a functional training gym, and so there's a lot more like mobility, obviously like other learnings involved. It's not just the history of yoga, and done from that perspective, it's kind of like modernized yoga, I suppose. So you're like learning all the foundations, but then learning how that applies to like more functional training and modern things. And it's like, here's one of these like classic yoga poses, and here's how we could actually change it to be less harmful for the general public. And so it's been teaching me a lot about my own training and my own kind of lack of mobility and what I need to work on. So I've been loving that so much, and I would love nothing more than to be able to like host some classes in the future, or you know, if I were to ever do more in-person events or doing like the program recovery days and stuff, like I'd love nothing more than to be able to lead those myself. And I suppose that's kind of the goal outside of like my own learning of it. So I'm really loving it, and yeah, I look forward to seeing what else is in store. So headed to my yoga teacher training course today. But I kind of wanted to continue on this note because a lot of questions were asking about my Mormon upbringing. I know I casually toss that out sometimes, and for those of you who have followed me for a long time, you'll obviously know I've talked about that probably a little bit more in the past, but it kind of ties into this and just the general speaking of empathy and lack of empathy on the internet. And sometimes I reflect on why I feel this way and why I kind of perhaps I'm a little bit more open-minded in the way that I look at the world. And back in the olden days of YouTube, there was a time where all YouTubers were writing books. I don't know if you guys remember this. There was a hot moment in time where everybody was getting a book deal and kind of coming out with books. And at that point in time, I was actually in discussion with an agent to go about doing a book. And at the time, I actually think I had said this on YouTube at that time as well, where I was like, I really want to write a book about like my experience growing up in the Mormon church and why I ultimately left it. And that was something I was like in serious talks of doing, and really glad I didn't end up doing that because I have no right to be sitting there writing a book. I don't think anybody needed that. Nobody. I can't even speak. I can't even like say a sentence, let alone write a book. Who am I kidding? But I ultimately decided not to, and I kind of also never ended up speaking about that in a larger way because I came to the conclusion that much like many other topics in this one-sided element of social media and the internet, I just didn't feel comfortable discussing something that was ultimately a negative experience for me, because it's not the case for everybody, and people's like religious preferences, political preferences, like these are very personal things and are parts of people's lives that make up their core being. And if I were to speak about that in a negative way, I just feel like I wasn't doing anybody any favors perhaps by doing that, where even like perhaps my own family members and friends who would have in reality been a part of that story, I would kind of just like be airing out my own dirty laundry and things that are probably more personal to me and that don't need to be shared on the internet. And like religious religious beliefs are so personal, and I just don't like want to be the source of, you know, putting a negative light on that for someone where it might be really positive. Like religious beliefs can be so positive for people, and your belief in a higher power. And you know, that is something that I used to believe in. It's not something I believe in anymore for a multitude of reasons, and obviously I had my own experience with that, but it certainly made me look at the world a different way and made me appreciate that everyone has different upbringings and different circumstances, and things can never just be taken at face value, and there's kind of always a story, and everyone comes from a different place. And like leaving a religion and leaving a belief system is like a whole, it's a whole mind really. And obviously you end up looking at the world in a completely different way. And it's a crazy thing. And it just, yeah, it makes you just be a little bit more empathetic and understanding for people and where they come from and why they might believe what they do and what their circumstances are. And it just lets you be a little bit more open-minded instead of just having, again, like a knee-jerk reaction being like, I can't believe you said this and you're evil. It's like, oh, interesting. Like I actually wonder why they believe that, or I wonder what happened in their childhood to make them act this way, or what is their situation that makes them behave in such a manner. And this is certainly what I think the internet lacks, is just a little bit more empathy. And obviously it doesn't apply to like extreme situations where it's like, oh, okay, you want to go out there and like people, let's get you out of there. Let's not do that. That is certainly not morally good. But I think like a general intent very much matters, where I'm like, I believe in being kind to people, not moving through the world wanting to do harm to others, being kind and understanding where you can, and trying to enjoy the short life that we have and making it a happier and better place. And that's it. You know Ed Sheeran's song, What Do I Know? That's a good general feeling, I think, that I share. That's a good, cute little song. And whenever I'm feeling a little bit sad or the internet makes me feel a type of way, I kind of turn that song on and hum it to myself. And I'm like, love could change the world in a moment, but what do I know? You know, like that's it. So when it came to speaking about religion, and I just like, maybe there will be a time down the line later in my life where I feel more comfortable speaking about those things. But ultimately, like, I think me talking about those certain parts of my life, I think would actually, like, I'm not ready to bear that burden of possibly like harming other people or like opening up those wounds. Like it almost feels too soon. It's not so soon, but it feels too soon. Like I just like, it's not something that I feel confident or comfortable talking about in a space that doesn't offer up conversation and back and forth. Hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, I ultimately just wish that people could be a little bit more open and kind and understanding and look at the world in a more positive light. Also, I believe that Wonder Woman had it right. We need some more understanding and loving women in leadership. I love the videos where it's like, bring back the witches, we need covens. I would have to agree. I feel like this just generally went a little bit more heavy than I was probably intending it to. But again, this is where I struggle a little bit with the wider parts of the internet, because I love nothing more than being an open book and talking about anything, and I'd be so happy too, but I just sometimes feel like that's the joy of like meeting you guys in person, because I'd love nothing more than to be able to just speak about these things. But sometimes it just feels like certain subjects are not for me to discuss on the internet, and I wish I do like to keep it lighthearted, and videos like this where I'm like, okay, how deep am I gonna go today? Am I gonna cry today? There is the reality of the internet being kind of, the more you give it, the more it has to tear apart. I think Taylor Swift has said something along those lines too. So yeah, I never want this to feel too heavy, but I also feel like we need to have these little chats every now and again. And as far as like the future content, there were a few questions about like, what do you want to do with your content in the future? Is there something in your career that you've wanted to do that you've been too scared to? And I think it's like things like that where I love the value of like discussing deeper topics, and it's something that I just haven't felt comfortable with doing myself. And I think that's a beautiful thing that podcasts really allows to go into. And I love when people do interviews and like bring professionals and experts on certain topics, and they're able to have like a back and forth. And so that's something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to kind of dive deeper into that world, and I just haven't, because I just think that there's people who are far better at that than I am. I do appreciate like my worldview, and I do believe that I'm like a more open individual, I suppose, but I just don't think I'd be the best for that job, which is why I kind of haven't spread into that. It's something I've wanted to do, but I haven't, because I just haven't felt really like confident in my abilities or lack thereof to do that. So that's kind of why I've never gone deep like that. And I think there's other people who just speak so much more eloquently than I, and I like to leave it to them. So that's pretty much that. But On a more lighthearted note, I don't know if this is like a joke or not, and I really hope that I'm reading this the right way, but Seds Jacob says, do you wear wigs? And I don't know if that's like a genuine question, as if, like, do I wear wigs? Or if that's in reference to the Lord of the Rings press tour where it's, do you wear wigs? Will you wear wigs? And I really hope it's that one, because if so, I see you. If not, I'm so sorry. No, I don't wear wigs, but I honestly wish I did. I think that it is so fun to be like, I want to have short blonde hair today. Let me wear a little lob. Or I want a big curly red mane today. And also to just not have to do my hair. That sounds like a dream. Honestly, I would love to wear wigs. That would be so great. And our girl Jen Allgaier, bless you, sweet angel. She said, if you could ask Taylor Swift one question, what would it be? I fear that I'm gonna have to be super lame, because that is a multi-layered question, because honestly I don't believe that she was entirely truthful nor thorough enough in her documentary showing the ins and outs of her entire training regimen for the Eras tour. I want to know everything. I want to know the full diet. I want to know the full weekly, monthly, yearly breakdown of what that training schedule looked like. I want to know everything. I want to know her sleep schedule. I want to know if she takes drugs to sleep. I want to know if she tracks anything. I want to know how she deals with jet lag. You know, when she made the comment being like, jet lag is a choice, I'm like, that's nice. No, I need to know what you're doing. How are you alive and how did you survive that? So I would really want the thorough breakdown of that, but ultimately, like, what I would want from Taylor Swift is something I can't have, and that would be to be a fly on the wall. I would want to just see a day off. I'd want to witness. I'm like, I want to know how you and Travis are. I am like absolutely deeply parasocial with that, where I'm like, I just want to see, show me everything. I want a true day in the life. Like, do you remember when Katy Perry was just like live streaming? That's what I want. I want a 360 view of her life. Like, I want a day in the life of Taylor Swift, like truly unedited. I know we'll never get that, so not a question, but actually just give us your entire life. How is your brain? I just want to see it. I want to see inside the fibers of the brain. That is what I wish to know. Hi everybody! I am back from my yoga teacher training course. I'm positively exhausted, and I just have to tell you, confirmed, I got my period while I was there. Guys, I was so unprepared. I knew that it could be coming soon, but I certainly didn't expect that it would have been today, so I was deeply unprepared, and I just was shoving toilet paper in my mouth. It was horrible. Anyway, I told Dan, obviously, because I was so excited. Really quick. I've got a very fun shoot happening next week, and I looked at my little Aura calendar, okay? And I was like, oh my God, just my luck. I'm telling you, I get my period every single time I like need to be somewhere. I swear that my body heard my cries and was like, you know what? We're gonna cut you some slack, girl. We're gonna give it to you today, and it's gonna be done before your shoot. And I'm so happy. So it happened today. Not ideal to be at my yoga teacher training course, but I'm just so thrilled that it'll be done. And that means my uglies will all be out before mid next week, which is great. And I came home and Dan made me a steak, and we just ate our steak, and that was very, very kind. So really, I'm just feeling so much better about the whole situation now. Thank you so much. And I was just going through the footage. I am sorry that it got a little bit sad. Like, kind of sad vibes, or just like heavy vibes. I don't know. This is like, it's like sometimes I just get a little bit icky, where like, I just like to keep the vibes happy on YouTube. And I know that there's so much, there's enough sad in the world. I don't want to be like a reminder of that. And this isn't even a reminder of like the real going down. I just try and keep it, I keep it internet level here, you know what I'm saying? And it's even that is just like oh, I'm sorry, I just like, I'll film a happier video tomorrow. So I wanted to leave the vid on a happy note, and obviously we have another video going live tomorrow, but today's going to be the 5th and final giveaway of the bundle of all of my favorite things. So check the description box down below for the link on how you can enter to win it. This is the final one, the 5th bundle for Everyday May. I walked in there, realized that it's a hurricane. I was gonna show you, but I'm not, so we'll just rely on that previous clip. But thanks so much for listening to my blab today, this very long blab. If you made it to the end, bless your tender heart and soul, and thank you always for all the love and the time that you give us here on the internet. We love you for it, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the final video of Everyday May. Thanks for watching. Bye!